وقال الذين لا يعلمون لولا يكلمنا الله أو تأتينا آية كذلك قال الذين من قبلهم مثل قولهم تشابهت قلوبهم قد بينا الآيات لقوم يوقنون
যারা কিছু জানে না তারা বলে, আল্লাহ আমাদের সঙ্গে কেন কথা বলেন না, অথবা আমাদের কাছে কোনো নিদর্শন কেন আসে না। এমনি ভাবে তাদের পূর্বে যারা ছিল তারাও তাদেরই অনুরূপ কথা বলেছে, তাদের অন্তর একই রকম। নিশ্চয় আমি উজ্জ্বল নিদর্শন সমূহ বর্ণনা করেছি তাদের জন্য যারা প্রত্যয়শীল।
وَقَالَ الَّذِينَ لَا يَعْلَمُونَ, and then Allah makes reference to those who don't know. In other words, the mushrikun again is going back to what one of the last things, even though this is a Madani surah, what were some of the most, constant criticisms of the mushrikun of Makkah? What did they use to constantly reject Islam? One of the last things that they used to reiterate all the time before migration. Basically they said, لَوْلَا يُكَلِّمُنَ اللَّهِ, how come Allah doesn't talk to us? How come He chose you? What's so special about you anyway? Your parents are dead. You're an orphan. You're not even that wealthy. You're not even a tribe leader. Why would He pick you? لَوْلَا أُنزِلَ هَذَا الْقُرْآنَ عَلَى رَجُلٍ مِّنَ الْقَرْيَتَيْنِ عَظِيمٍ. How come this Qur'an didn't come down to one of the two celebrities from town? We had some pretty great leaders in town. People already listen to them. They have so much influence already. If they had become messengers, it would have been so much easier for us to accept them as messengers. How come an orphan? Doesn't make any sense. Why could God talk to us? Why does He only talk to you? لَوْلَا يُكَلِّمُنَ اللَّهِ. How come Allah doesn't talk to us? أَوْ تَأْتِينَا آيَةً. Or how come He doesn't send us any revelations? Why does He only come to you? Why does the angel only pick you? أَوْ تَأْتِينَا آيَةٌ. This is, not too long ago, I don't recommend you guys watch this documentary, but not too long ago I saw bits and pieces of Religulous. The documentary basically poking fun at religion. Essentially, the purpose of the documentary was to poke fun at the idea of prophets, essentially. What's so special about them? Why does God choose to talk to them? Doesn't make any sense to me. Allah says, وَقَالَ الَّذِينَ لَا يَعْلَمُونَ. Those who have no idea, they talk like this. They talk like this back then, they still talk like this now. There's no change. There's really no change. It's why these arguments, Allah recorded them, not just because the mushrikun were making them, because these will be timeless arguments. People will be using them all the time. This is guidance for all time. And so people think they're so smart, they came up with some new criticism that they should make a documentary about. A Bedouin Arab made these arguments already. Back in the desert. Okay, an idol-worshipping pagan made these arguments already. This is nothing new. لَوْلَا يُكَلِّمُنَ اللَّهُ أَوْ تَأْتِينَ آيَةً كَذَلِكَ قَالَ الَّذِينَ مِنْ. And they think they're the ones that just came up with it. Allah says, you're not even new. كَذَلِكَ قَالَ الَّذِينَ مِنْ قَبْلِهِمْ مِثْلَ قَوْلِهِمْ. That is exactly what those who came much before them said, just like their words. They said exactly that. They think they came up with something. Allah said, not even you. There's been fools before who said the same exact thing. This is old. تَشَابَهَتْ قُلُوبُهُمْ. Not only are their words similar, their hearts are very similar. Their hearts have the same exact kind of disease. تَشَابَهَتْ قُلُوبُهُمْ. Across generations, people have the same exact disease. This is one of the great features of the Qur'an. Allah talks about people living in different societies, different centuries, different times, different worlds almost. And yet they say exactly the same thing. We're going to find this for evildoers, but also for good doers. We're going to find in Surah Al-Shu'ara, different prophets talking. Salih is talking, Hud is talking, Lut is talking, Nuh is talking. These prophets never even talk to each other. Isn't that true? They never even talk to each other. But yet, when they talk to their people, Allah will quote the same exact ayah over and over and over again. And you'll sit there wondering, why is Allah repeating Himself? He's telling you something. Man, this happened 100 years, 500 years, 1,000 years apart, and yet the same exact conversation happened. What an amazing training that Allah gives His prophets, that they all deliver consistently exactly the same message. Quality control. The franchise of prophethood. The franchise. It doesn't change, it doesn't budge. Same exact message every time. And the people of diseases, shaitan's also got a franchise. It's the same shaitan making the same waswasa, whether he's making it to a guy riding a horse, or a guy riding a Ferrari with a horse logo on it, it doesn't make a difference. The waswasa is the same. Names will change, times will change, generations will change, but the waswasa will be the same. تَشَابَهَتْ قُلُوبُهُمْ. Then Allah says, قَدْ بَيَّنَّا الْآيَاتِ لِقَوْمٍ يُوقِنُونَ. It's beautiful. We have made our ayat absolutely clear. Abundantly clear. Qad, we've already done it. You know, they said, how come no ayah comes to us? If it comes to us, we'll be convinced. How come God doesn't talk to us? لَوْلَا يُكَلِّمُنَ اللَّهِ. How come? God doesn't talk to us. Allah doesn't talk to us. If he did, I'd say, okay, yeah, makes sense. I see it now. Allah says, no. I don't have to convince you based on your requests. I've already sent something that is convincing enough. And who thinks it's convincing enough? Allah Himself does. This is a really important thing for Muslims to internalize. We're not here to impress anyone. Allah has already told us that His word is impressive enough. We're just here to clarify it. You know, a lot of times da'is think like they're making a sale. They have to impress the customer so he can buy the product. Right? In Punjabi they say thalle lagna. It's an expression in Punjabi. Basically you accept the superiority of the client and you do whatever you can to make the sale. And when a salesman is desperate, you know what it's saying in between the lines. It's talking about the low quality. Indicating the low quality of the product. If the product is quality in and of itself, the salesman is not desperate at all. Why not? Because he believes in the product. The product speaks for itself. I don't have to convince you that it's awesome. I don't have to tell you what other customers have said. I don't have to give you a test drive. I don't have to do anything. It is what it is. Take it or leave it. And you'll find in the world products that are quality. They don't even have to go out of their way to sell them to you. You go and line up outside the store before it opens. Yeah. Yeah, that's what I mean. The Christians say the apple was forbidden, right? We don't say that. I'm just kidding. But the point I'm trying to make is, Allah says Himself, Bayyan al-ayat. We've already made the ayat clear. I don't need to convince you according to your conditions. Who are you? I've already sent what is enough. But for who? لِقَوْمٍ يُوقِنُونَ. For a nation that actually wants to be convinced. Now this is a grammatical principle. Usually you have a noun and an adjective. If it was a noun and adjective situation, the Arabic would have been لِقَوْمٍ مُوقِنِينَ. For a convinced nation, a nation that is convinced. Allah says لِقَوْمٍ يُوقِنُونَ. The adjective is actually a verb. This is not something I teach early on, but the adjective is actually a verb. And what this does in Arabic is, it changes the meaning not just to a quality like a believing nation, but a nation that wants to believe. In this case, a convinced nation? No. That would have been لِقَوْمٍ مُوقِنِينَ. لِقَوْمٍ يُوقِنُونَ means a nation that wants to be convinced. If you are really looking to be convinced, then the ayat are enough. What Allah is telling us here is the fact that you're saying this is not because you want to be convinced. You just want to make small talk and you want to come up with things to say to be able to justify that you're not going to believe. You are not looking to be convinced. You've already convinced yourself, as a matter of fact, that you will not be believing. That's when you're talking like this. If you were looking to be convinced, the ayat were enough. That's the argument. It's really powerful. قَدْ بَيَّنَ الْآيَاتِ لِقَوْمٍ يُوقِنُونَ. And He started by saying, وَقَالَ الَّذِينَ لَا يَعْلَمُونَ. Those who have no knowledge talk like this. No knowledge of what, the question is. No knowledge of what the actual revelation is. How come God doesn't do this, that, the other? Have you read the book? No, why would I bother reading the book? I don't know what the book says. I'm just going to come up with my own demands of what God should be doing to impress me. I've met so many people like that. How come God doesn't, just give me a sign? Doesn't teach me something? Why do I have to come to Him? Who are you and who's He? Who should come to who? Who should be meeting whose demands? This is لِقَوْمٍ يُوقِنُونَ, captured very powerfully in this ayah.